These are the hottest stocks right now. It's precious metals, it's uranium, it's non-ferrous metals. And again, if you just want to, kind of buy it with your eyes closed and not worry too much about whether or not you're in the right stock, you just want to be in the right sector, that's URA. After bombing the nuclear facility in Iran, there's individual stocks that are gunning higher, and there's international stock market ETFs that are absolutely, I'll say, exploding. They have ETFs or exchange traded funds that you can own just by typing in the symbols and pressing buy. It's nice and easy, so you don't have to have some sort of special access to invest in the African stock market, the Israel stock market. A lot of these stock markets are gunning higher. Even Greece is gunning higher. Bombs are supposedly dropped on the Iran nuclear facility, but let's be honest, you don't know if they're lying to you. You don't know if they're being honest or half honest about what really went down. You never know. You hear what they want you to hear. Most of the time you believe what they want you to believe. But price behavior always tells the truth. Price behavior of stocks right now is telling us whatever actually happened here, we have little to worry about in terms of the stock market's health, and maybe even little to worry about with regard to our safety and our own peace of mind when it comes to geopolitical tensions. Now, we have ETFs that address the international stock market. AFK is the symbol for the Africa stock market. EIS is the symbol for the Israeli stock market. I mean, there are different funds that you can use, but those are the ones that we like. There's a bunch of individual stock symbols that you can use to ride the giant uptrend that this is creating. We're going to talk about it right here on Sector Edge. I'm Chris Rowe. I'm joined by our editor-in-chief at True Market Insiders, Mr. Big Bill Spencer. Thank you for coming on Sector Edge, Big Bill.
You're welcome, Chris. Thanks for having me here. It's great to be here. Let's get into it.
Some of the strongest ETFs that you can own right now are international ETFs, and they're in the areas that are affected by the military conflict. EIS is an Israeli ETF, so it's an Israeli fund. It's very diversified. EIS, the Israeli stock market, is gunned higher. We use all this terminology: gunned, exploded. I'm not really even trying to be. I'm not even trying to be funny, because I would be failing. EIS. What's that?
Rocket it up.
Yeah, rocket it up. But we do see EIS moving higher. That might be something that you might want to buy on a pullback. AFK is one that I think a lot of people are not aware of. So you can own the African stock market. You can see this has been one of the strongest international stock markets over the last few months, coming off of those crash lows. Big Bill, I know that there are some, precious metals has been incredibly strong. We just saw it on the matrix, the sector urgency matrix. Also, non-ferrous metals have been incredibly strong. They're the number 2 and number 3 highest ranked sectors in terms of urgency buying. Let's dive into that a little bit. There's one particular metal that has it's an ETF, and then we can look at the individual stocks within that ETF, because some of the best performing stocks and some of the best performers from the trade of the day on Discord are members of this group. Which symbols would you like me to
Exactly what
put?
you're talking about.
What are the symbols?
You're talking about uranium, so you want to look at URA.
Yep, hold on. URA. I accidentally typed in URS, URA. All right, we're punching in URA right now. Now tell us about this.
URA, well, this is probably the most popular diversified ETF for anyone who is looking at and following the uranium space, as I've been doing, for a couple of years now. And the reason is, it's, in my mind anyway, it's virtually a certainty that the number one way that we're going to be generating electricity going forward is going to be nuclear, and that is going to be extremely bullish for uranium. It's going to be an incredible tailwind. It's basically going to be a game changer. We say it all the time, but it's true. The more powerful AI gets, for example, all the chat GPTs and all the groks, the bigger and better they get, the more juice they're going to consume. And that electricity's got to come from somewhere, because the country that controls AI is going to dominate globally. And that's another way of saying the country that dominates AI is going to have to dominate in the field of uranium, as an access to electricity generation. So URA, if you don't want to drill down into all these different stocks, like say LEU, and many, many others, I would recommend URA. Take a look at URA. And again, you look at the price chart, look at the volume on the lower right there. when it
Yeah,
broke out, when it bounced, it made that V-shaped recovery
sure.
after it went down, and then it gapped higher on just tremendous volume. That's a key price level, and then it's gone up, it shows no sign of slowing.
Right. And some of the symbols of individual stocks in URA are some of our biggest winners. You know, when we launched Discord, the trade of the day on our Discord, which, by the way, if anybody's not signed up with that, there's probably a banner somewhere on this site, on the website where you see this video right now. But check it out. But Discord trade of the day, OKLO is the very first alert that came out. All right. We launched
Mm-hmm.
this on April 10th, which is basically, we're cheating a little bit here because that's basically right after the stock market bottomed out. But the trade idea came out right around when the stock was at about 40. I'm sorry, 22.81. Stock has since been in the 70s. This is just in a matter of a few months. Stock pretty much tripled from where it got recommended. But if I go a little bit further back, Big Bill, I see this blue line, and I know why I put that there because you actually recommended this. You wrote a whole article talking about uranium stocks,
Yeah.
and this is back in October of last year. Look, this is what people saw when they first, look at OKLO. When you see this big volume coming in, the stock goes from 10 to 22. A lot of people say, it's come too far too fast. When you see that big of a spike in volume, that much of a change, this is, the result a lot of the time. It just continues to go higher. So what, I guess you caught this thing at about 17 bucks before it ran up to 58 and then ultimately 74, right?
Yep.
We're going to put this one in the watch list below this video. Okay, so in your article, Bill, you wrote about OKLO, you wrote about NLR. I think SMR might have been one of them. But anyways, this since
Yeah,
the
it
question,
was.
yeah, the low from 64 up to 110. SMR is a holding in this uranium ETF, and that's one that we also like. I think it was up 18% today. Yeah, here we go. SMR up 18% just in one day. This is also where you recommended it, but still, we think it's a great stock to be in. And what was the other one?
LEU.
LEU. LEU is that's the yeah, there we go. LEU. Look at how these things are absolutely gunning higher. Some of these things you might want to wait for a little bit of a pullback. It's anytime you see the market pull back, think about it the way that world's biggest institutions think about it. It's a gift.
Did we look at NLR?
Another one mentioned was NLR. So NLR, you could see here gunning higher on very consistent above average upside volume. So these are the hottest stocks right now. It's precious metals, it's uranium, it's non-ferrous metals. And again, if you just want to, kind of buy with your eyes closed and not worry too much about whether or not you're in the right stock, you just want to be in the right sector. That's URA, right, Big Bill?
Yep.
Global X Uranium ETF.
I
So
couldn't agree
global X,
more.
sorry.
I couldn't agree more.
Absolutely. And Bill, I remember we were talking about international symbols back on in March, right before the market tanked. And
Yeah.
we had Greece. Obviously, Greece is taking off, and you can see it's important to note which international stock markets are doing extremely well after this over the weekend event of bombing Iran's nuclear facilities. Bill, the way that you described this,
Mhm.
I thought was really interesting. You called it the unthinkable. The unthinkable happened.
Yeah.
Even when the unthinkable happens, the stock market just continues to take off. What do you think this says about the stock market in general and about the potential for a much bigger, scarier conflict?
Well, the potential for a much bigger, scarier conflict, that's just sort of always there, in the Middle East or with Ukraine or something like that. But what this means for the stock market is one of the surest signs that you've got not just a bull market, but like an incredibly strong bull market is the market does not decline when there's bad news. Ordinarily, if the market is shaky on its feet, if it's wobbling around like a boxer in the late rounds, some
Hmm.
bad headlines come out and we see stocks decline. And the what people called what was happening over the weekend, you keep hearing the word the unthinkable because the
Mm.
United States of America basically bombed the crap out of its geopolitical rival Iran, something that was literally unthinkable just a few months ago. And certainly like last year, the year before that, it was the stuff of like a thriller you'd see, a blockbuster movie or something. The United States dropping bunker busters onto
Hmm.
their closely guarded, fortified nuclear facilities. You'd expect investors to say this is scaring the market and you'd expect the market to decline. Now, over the weekend, we had this bombing runs in Iran, and then we saw the market gun higher, gap higher on Monday. And then very telling, we saw follow through today on Tuesday when the market went higher yet again. And you talked earlier about some of these international stocks and international ETFs that are also strong. So what this says about the market is exactly what we've always known for the last few months. It is incredibly strong. You used the word explode earlier, these stocks and ETFs that can explode. You could call this market bulletproof if you wanted to continue the
Nuke
armament
proof.
metaphor.
Nuke proof.
Nuke proof, yeah, even better. I like that.
Look, the Russell 2000 on Monday when the market closed was up 1.22%. So I posted it on some of the social media that we have
Mm-hmm.
running, LinkedIn. By the way, let me pause for a second. Anybody who doesn't already do this, just remember that you can always follow me on at Chris Rowe Show. So the handle is at Chris Rowe Show. It's on X, formerly known as Twitter. It's on Instagram. Chris Rowe Show is the handle for my YouTube channel, where you can find videos like this one and a ton of other videos that I post there on YouTube. But this video is for Sector Edge. Sector Edge videos can also be conveniently found on our True Market Insiders analytical platform. So you can find that at truemarketinsiders.io/Sector Edge. There, you can also add stocks to your watch list, which is designed to tell you when institutional investors have suddenly started buying your stock or buying your sector. These institutional investors are the ones that make money in the market. Individual investors usually don't, or they underperform at best. But you'll be able to tell with the 5-stock watch list that we have. It's specially designed. We basically built it, hired software engineers to build the entire platform. It's free to you. So let's actually get into some of the symbols here, and I'll post them right in front of everybody on LinkedIn, and I'll post it in front of everybody right here on the platform. So let's see. I'll go to truemarketinsiders.io, put the / Sector Edge. Since we're recording this right now, you see the old video thumbnail. Don't sell in May and go away. That was a pretty good piece of advice there, if it was advice. So, all right, my watch list. We have RSG, which is pollution control, HDSN, which is pollution control, and FTEK, which is pollution control. The reason why we have 3 pollution control stocks in the watch list right below the video is because the pollution control sector is the strongest sector in the stock market right now. That means stocks in the pollution control sector are being bought with the highest level of urgency out of all 45 sectors. So you can see it right there at the top of the matrix that we have, POLL, followed by non-ferrous metals, precious metals, non-air transports, and oil service. Those are the top 5 strongest sectors. I'm going to click on dashboard very quickly so you can see. I'm going to throw a curveball at you. There's going to be two more symbols that we can add here because this watch list is limited. So OKLO is going to be one of the stocks in the uranium sector, really metals sector. So here we go, OKLO. Bill, I'm adding OKLO to the watch list. And out of the symbols that we discussed, what's the other symbol I should add? Because we're going to reach our maximum of 5.
LEU.
LEU, said with a high degree of confidence. LEU. Let's get it up there. That is Centrus Energy Corp, another uranium. Remember, if you're watching this on my YouTube channel, Chris Rowe Show, be sure to like, share, comment. Let's trick those algorithms into thinking I'm a cool guy. Aside from that, make sure you utilize your watch list. You can go to truemarketinsiders.io or truemarketinsiders.com if the IO is too hard for you to remember, and you'll have your dashboard for free. We have lots of freemium tools. Stay tuned. Make sure that you enter your phone number somewhere so you get alerts when we send out these videos. Sometimes you only have a few moments to act before the stock takes off. Thank you very much, Big Bill.
Anytime, Chris. Thank you for having me. I had a great time. See you soon.
See you on the next one, Big Bill. Remember, everybody, you'll see it in the stock price before you see it in the news. You'll see it in the price behavior of the sector ETF before you see it in the news. You'll always see it in the price before you see it in the news. This is Chris Rowe with Sector Edge and Big Bill Spencer. Thank you.
You're welcome.